Peace and blessings, family, and welcome back to another episode of Heal with Angelica Waters podcast, where we discuss all things healing. And on today's episode, I have a guest joining me today, Miss Victoria LittleJohn, the Cultivating character, as we will be discussing today's topic, emotional intelligence. Victoria, I am so excited to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you?
I'm great. Oh my goodness. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I am looking forward to this conversation with you. Now, before we get started on today's topic, do you mind letting our audience know more about you?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am the compassion coach, Tori V. I am your healing guide, walking with you, healing together in real time as we do the inner work. So, um, check in with me at Tori Victories and let's talk about our emotional intelligence and get into our, I want to say higher self, but some we got to get into our current self too. So,
Okay. Ooh, you already started off right, sis. Yes. Now, again, let's get started on today's topic, emotional intelligence. So, first, what is emotional intelligence? So, emotional intelligence is how we respond to our challenges, express our emotions, and interact with others. Is more than a gut reaction. Our response are key skills we can use to make a difference in our life and the lives of others. These skills are often called emotional intelligence or EI. Daniel Goleman, psychologist and best-selling author, defines emotional intelligence as the ability to recognize and manage our emotions as well as the ability to identify, understand, and influence the feeling of others. Woo, Lord. Now that brings me to my first question for you, Victoria. How important is it for one to have emotional intelligence in their day-to-day life?
it's so important. It's crucial, actually, I think, because intelligence, simply put, is being able to be self aware of yourself, aware of others, their emotions,
Mhm.
being able to manage yourself, have self control, um, and then that self awareness is the main thing that you want to have throughout your day. So from waking up, being aware that you're waking up on time, what your goals are, what you're doing today, to how you react to the person at the grocery store who may not be in the best mood. Are you going to notice that they're in that other mood, or are you going to take things personal and feel like they're just putting that attention towards you? So it's every aspect. Then coming home, working all day, and coming into like being around your family, being able to manage how you feel, separate the two spaces,
Mhm.
and be in the present moment. All of that is a part of emotional intelligence.
Yes. Absolutely. I think like I can definitely just agree with you with that because like now that I'm in tune with myself, I can definitely catch my emotions when it's like out like whack. So it's like, okay, yeah, let me go ahead and check myself. So I think it's like being able to check yourself in a way when when stuff is a lot to handle. So yes, I love it. It's very important for our day-to-day life to have emotional intelligence. Now, does having emotional intelligence helps with self-control?
Absolutely. Yes. Because think about there's so many topics. When I think about one of the topics that I talk about often with self-control and just emotional intelligence and today going on in society is the Roe versus Wade, and
Mm,
abortion or gun laws and different things like that. um, and I'm always saying that, babies don't just make themselves,
yes.
or guns don't just pull triggers. It's about the person being able to manage their emotions and have the self-control to use their power in a healthy and a light way, in a
Hmm.
higher frequency. So it's really about how you can use it for good, and it can be a survival tactic, or you can use it for evil. Like it's really a tipping scale. um, and emotional intelligence is the one that kind of sets where you're going to be at on that scale.
Ooh, I love how you brought that up. I definitely can see the emotional imbalance within the world in general. And with me, I don't watch the news. I'm sorry. I have to keep my energy sacred. So I don't get all into that. But, I did kind of get into the Roe versus Wade situation just um, because of me learning to love myself, and then seeing our women not thinking not thinking rationally when it comes to that situation. It kind of stirred me up a little bit, but me understanding that, this is exactly what they want to do. They want to stir up our emotions and make us imbalance, so we can get into topics like this, so we can be separate and divide from each other. So I believe, like, when it comes to situations like that, it's just another way to separate us and keep us apart. So yeah, girl, listen. I love that, Tori. Thank you for that. Now, how can a person who is trying to heal from any kind of element, if it's a health issue, mental issue, benefit from obtaining the knowledge of emotional intelligence?
I'm so glad you asked that. Okay, because you said it earlier, what I call cultivating character. So, in order for me to learn anything, if you're talking about health, that means I have to change my habits, and
Mhm.
that take us into neuroscience and understanding our brain and our brains, our neuroplasticity. The neuroplasticity in our brains let us know that we can develop a new skill, we can develop a new habit, but it's going to be hard. Like nobody said it was
Mm,
going to be easy to do this thing. The emotional intelligence comes into play because you're like, okay, I know that I'm in this space of growth. I know that I'm developing this new skill, this new trade. I know that I'm moving to this new city, whatever it is that I want to do to
uh-huh.
get better in tune with self and my environment. But I also know that I'm going to be faced with new people in that new city. I'm going to be faced with, like right now, I really want to cut out all meat, and I'm faced with vegetables that I don't like. Okay, but but,
Listen.
but I just have to know, like, no, you're doing this for a greater good, your better
Yes.
good. Like I have to be able to talk to myself, being aware that I can talk to myself. Some um, growing up in the '90s, I guess people weren't aware that you could talk to yourself. You could be like, okay, Victoria, what we about to do? you know
Okay.
So
Yes.
now that's normal, but that's also a part of that emotional intelligence, because what I call lower self or foundational self is what I was taught, what the world taught me, all the
Yes.
triggers and everything. Then I have current self is what you see today, and then I have higher self. So I have to have the higher self is like the potential of who I can be. It's always the greater good in me. I call that the source connection to my creator. So if
Yes.
I'm looking at myself in these three entities in that way, then I have to have the emotional intelligence to realize when little Victoria is talking, she ratchet, okay? She's trying to get crunk. So I
Yes.
gotta I gotta hear her. She's loud. Higher self is soft. She's like, don't do that. You shouldn't do
It's
that.
like the good. It's like the good. Like the. I'm thinking about
The little, yeah,
the devil and then the angel on the side. Yeah.
literally, okay. Somebody knew what they was talking about when they made that. Yes, okay, exactly. So the emotional intelligence is being able is every like I haven't seen any lately using that dictation of
Hmm.
like the little angel and devil, but in the
Yeah,
90s that was a big thing.
it
Cause see, you'll
was.
see that in the media all the time. But it's like that is emotional intelligence. That's a perfect example of emotional intelligence and being able to sit for a second, current self, and be like, what you think? Okay, no, what you think? Like, no, I'm gonna go with you. Like, and being able to choose that when you're used to that, that's hard.
Yes. Oh my god. I'm laughing so hard right now because you are telling the truth. Like, and I'm just now getting into that state of literally being okay with talking to myself. The way that they make it seem as if it's crazy that you're talking to yourself, but it's really not. Like, it's just you affirming certain things, like, should I do this, or is this right? It's like it's okay to have those conversations with yourself because you're able to make better judgment instead of just going off of this one side, knowing that you know the way that life has already shaped us into the, I want to say, the little devil, the bad side, but we got our higher self, our angel that wants to guide us in life. So I just love how you just brought that up. Yes, yes, yes. So, um, as you were talking, I heard you bring up self awareness. Now, how were you able to use your self awareness to help you in building your emotional intelligence?
Okay, that's a good question. So for me, um, girl, now you about to take me down a rabbit hole.
Go ahead, honey. I'm listening.
Okay, for me, before I knew of the word consciousness, I knew about trauma. And
Hmm.
so I identified as an empath. And then I realized, well, empaths are made in trauma. And so I'm now in when I talk about consciousness, now I'm trying to step back from identifying as too many things because
Hmm.
our subconscious mind feels like, oh no, we're the mess up. We don't do right. So if I keep identifying as the mess up, then subconscious mind will try to stop me from doing anything, achieving things, or you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like
Yes.
not being the mess up, it's being the opposite of what I identified as. So we don't even realize it because we're just like, oh, I'm the mess up, always, like whatever it is.
Yes.
So subconscious mind does stuff. Even when I'm late, I have to, I'm constantly trying to change my wording because words are so powerful. And
Yes, it
that's
is.
being self-aware, noticing when I'm like I'm late, or being like, okay, I'm moving late right now, I'm in the moment, or you know what I'm saying, instead of telling my mind I'm late, because then I'll find myself being late and I'll
Yeah.
start attracting stuff that just makes me late. Like I could start
Ooh.
early, like, and then the world would just conspire to make me late because in my head I believe I'm always late. So
Hmm.
it's really being self-aware and then constantly learning. I realized, oh, it's a lot of stuff about self you don't know. Like we don't learn in school how to deal with our emotions. When I
Hmm.
feel that feeling, um, me and my sister often talk about inspiration versus jealousy, and I always
Ooh.
tell her it's a thin line between the two. And we were having a conversation about just she lost over 100 pounds, and I lost 100 pounds too, but she was 100 pounds smaller than me, so she
Okay.
she's like done now. Like I'm like you still I'm still in there. Like
Looking good,
but
sis.
but it's like we're both losing weight, but you know I use her weight loss as my motivation, as my inspiration.
Hmm.
And I would tell her some. I could, if I was in a negative mind state, if I wasn't aware of my feelings, of my emotions, that could easily turn into jealousy. Like, she losing all that weight and I'm still fat. Who she think she is? Or you know what I mean? Like some type of,
Yeah.
like, it's just a simple mindset shift. So being able to be aware of where my mindset is, then I can be aware of where my emotions are, why they are that way. And so it's a rabbit hole of learning how to ask yourself questions. That's what I think
Mm,
self-awareness.
exactly, exactly. Like, woo, I love it. Like, because I think that is a great way for you to really get to know yourself. Like, actually asking yourself questions, because I truly believe we have the answers inside of us for the most part. Like, we really know what it is. That's that instant, that is it I was about to say intelligent instance that we have, that gut instance that we have inside of us. And I definitely have been like asking myself questions. I can say that with me, I do not as much anymore, but I used to deal with anxiety a lot. And then once I was able to actually separate the two from, okay, is this my anxiety today, or is this, something else? Because with my anxiety, was having physical symptoms. So sometimes I'll be like, okay, is this just my anxiety, or is this real? So eventually, as I continue to ask myself questions, my higher self, being more self aware, I was able to actually identify, okay, this is anxiety. So what I do is I talk to my other self and be like, anxiety, I love you. Thank you for being here, but I don't need you right now. Because I think that we have to start embracing it, embracing that negativity, the negative side of us, because anxiety isn't bad. Anxiety is good to have in some cases, but when you're able to actually identify it and then make peace with it, then it's a win-win. So I love how you brought that up, because that made me think of me trying to incorporate self-awareness in my life and things that I do on a day-to-day basis. So woo, yes, girl. Listen, so I want to get I want to get kind of like deep. Like, what what started you, like what happened in your life that made you want to cultivate more emotional intelligence in your life?
Um, well, kind of going back to your previous question, cultivating character. So I realized that um I didn't have the character. There's three us, the three that we show ourselves, the three we show the world, and the you know what we think the world sees. It's two different things to from the world's perspective of us and what we think we're giving off. Like, yeah, this
Mm.
this one will kill it, but this we're way off. And so it's because we don't see the ego. We don't see our ego. And so our intentions and our actions don't always line up.
Mm-hmm.
My intention is to um, get my food warm. So I put it in the microwave. So I just used the microwave. I didn't mean to use the microwave. I just was trying to get my food warm. I wasn't trying to use it. Like, you know, it's like we don't realize sometimes our intentions and our actions don't line up. It wasn't my intention to make you feel used microwave. I didn't mean that. So as a child, just going back to like being an empath and being super aware because I had a high nervous system
Mm.
imbalance. So I had to be observant all the time. I was the quiet one. I was observant all the time. I noticed everything, so I was the kid in adult conversations. Yeah,
Yeah, that
that
was
was me.
me. Like, what you say? I know what y'all doing. Like,
Uh-huh.
yes,
Yeah. Somebody
listen,
looking
like,
for something.
go in
It's
your
over there
room.
under the table. Like, well, how you know? It's
Exactly.
over there under the table though.
Get out grown folks' business
Uh-huh.
now.
Yep. That was me. Okay, I was helpful
Yes.
though when you need it. but But being that way, it made me socially awkward. It made me go inward. So being more of just an introvert, needing to go inside myself in my little world and recharge instead of being
Mm.
around people. Um, and then I went on to high school or middle school, and I didn't have. So okay, let me back up. So I grew up with my dad, not my biological father, but my father who raised me my whole life.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't feel like I had any issues or anything, but there were issues there, like daddy issues and whatnot.
Mm.
And then just growing up, my mom, you know, she was her inner child was dealing with its own trauma, and so her inner child and my teenager were fighting. They were always they were always clapping. Um, and I would just go inward and I would kind of find refuge in writing and different things like that. So I was always aware of my situation, but I wasn't aware of why. I
Mm.
was bullied and I didn't understand why, but I wasn't showing up in my full space.
Mhm.
I didn't have the confidence that I needed. Um, I didn't value myself. I didn't know worth. I didn't even know that word. So I didn't know how to put any worth on me. I just kind of accept what I was given and the boundaries. I definitely didn't know that word. So it was
Yes, me neither.
all of these things, all of those things kind of contributed to me feeling like a mess up or a burden, and being in those depressive states like you talked about, having anxiety. Mine was very much um, depression. I had deep, deep depression. I diagnosed with depression because I, I just couldn't get out of the space of, nobody liked me. I was the fat kid. I didn't know how to be social and just kind of, I didn't know. I couldn't see myself. I didn't know what I was doing wrong, why the kids wanted to pick on me.
Yeah.
And I carried that into middle school. And then in middle school, I wanted to be anybody but me. And the internet came out in a big way. And um, I started catfishing. So using somebody else's picture on my like profile. But it
Mm.
happened, it was an accident. Some back then it was MySpace, and people would make your page for you. They would make it all fancy, and when you come, stuff would
Mhm.
fall. And
Yes. Oh, listen, don't take me back to MySpace, man. I kind of miss it.
yes. So so I met somebody on the internet that was like, I'll do your page for you. And like that was low key free advertisement. So that person now probably somewhere making websites, but it's fine. It's all but shout out to them. But
Okay.
but they made my page, but they didn't know my picture. So
Mm.
I had pictures of everybody in my class and that went to my school, but I didn't have any pictures of me. And so one album I had a picture of a girl. She was beautiful. And so I had a bunch of pictures of her. And these are just my friends. And she picked that picture and put it as a profile. So then in school, I didn't realize in the school, when I went to school the next day, everybody's talking about it. Like, so I took it down, but it gave me exposure. So it
Mm,
gave me
okay.
exposure to like, oh, I could do that. And so I went and found somebody else's picture and I did that for 7 years. And it was crazy. I like lived in my head and in the internet on the phone with people, but I never saw anybody in person. And if I did, they would leave me. So I was like re-injuring myself because I had that abandonment. Uh,
Yeah.
so the abandonment issue is, or sensitivity, I like to call it the issue, but the sensitivity is something that triggers me. And
Mhm.
so I would, you know, get this dopamine hit from feeling special and them telling me like, oh man, I could talk to you about anything, and just being able to be on the phone with somebody. The only thing you can do is really get to know them.
Exactly.
So I'm
Mhm.
getting to know people, and then I'm like, oh yeah, but that's not my picture. And they're like, oh, I told you all my secrets. And then they leave. And so it's
Yeah.
abandonment all over. And then I'm at a low and I'm depressed. And so what do I do to get out of that depression? I use the picture again and I go find somebody else, and we're just kicking it, and then It's a cycle. I'm just stuck
Cycle.
in this
Yeah.
cycle.
Mm.
So I had to become aware of that. Like the world had to crash like a few times. And and then I was like, okay, like something's going on here. I moved away. I'm from DC and I moved to North Carolina, and then the world crashed again. It was like a mini crash, but I stopped doing the catfishing. So this time I'm living in my actual life,
Mhm.
and I realized like I don't have a life. Like I don't have no
Mm.
hobbies. I
Yeah.
don't. I'm just seeking validation, and if I'm not, I'm just in the house. And that took me to um I was working at the post office. I got injured. I was overachiever. I jumped off the loading dock. Don't do that. Okay.
Oh Lord. No, you didn't. Girl, why you do that?
The truck was backing up and I didn't know if he could see me. So I was just like, I crunched down and I thought like I
Yeah.
was still in my youth or something. No, no,
Oh
no, no, no.
gosh.
And so I
Lord.
thought I was going to hop down. No, sir, my niece said, not today.
Okay.
Like,
Not
not
today, sis.
today.
No, no, no. Don't do that again.
No, no, no. So yeah, I was out of work for 8 months. Um, I watched everything on Netflix, and then it was like, all right, I had to look at myself now. Like
Mm,
I've done everything that I can do. I'm home. I need to work on myself, and I just started to remember personal development. I used to read,
mm,
and I stopped reading, and I just was in the life work rat race. And then I was like, I like to read. And so I started reading and I started getting back in personal development. I started meditating every single day. I would sit in my car and I would meditate, and I would be like a little modern monk. I would sit outside all day. I had all these dogs and animals that I live with. I went plant based. That's why I'm like I can do it because I've done it
mm-hmm,
before.
mm-hmm.
But, and
Yeah,
I just started changing. I started visualizing stuff, and it started to open up my awareness. And
yeah.
once I opened it up, it was like you can't unsee. Once it's there, once you realize things about yourself, you can't unsee it. And
Mm-hmm.
that is the path that I took to emotional intelligence. Um, I think getting the information first was actually, I think separating, needing to have a break from the normal life. Everything is created, and the rat race and working and all the things is created for us to keep moving.
Mm.
So when we stop and we're sitting, then that's the time that we get a chance to actually get to know self.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And I think that we have such a hard time um accepting ourselves and accepting being alone. It's so much noise being alone because you're able to really hear yourself and really get to know who you are. So it seems like to me in that time of you being alone and just thinking you're bored, you had time to really think and reflect and be like, hold on, wait. I like doing this. I like doing that. I used to do this. Let me get back to what makes me happy. So you was able to find yourself in your ooh, girl, listen. You sound like me because that's what I had to do. I had to do that. The times I was alone was the times where I felt just just bliss. Like I love, just like you said, I will go to a park. I love water. I will go and sit and just look at the water and meditate and just listen to the birds. And I was like, wow, this is peace. So, ooh, listen, honey, I love it. I love it. And if you all are enjoying this episode as well as I am, please, please, please show your support by donating today for more free and powerful content just like this. More info to donate will be listed in today's show notes. Now let's get back to today's episode, emotional intelligence. So, I would like to know your opinion on why is it that so many people lack emotional intelligence?
Mm, well, I feel like it's been hidden. A lot of people didn't have access to the information.
Mm.
Um, then I recently spoke to someone who told me that they woke up and they was woke, right? And then and then he said, but he was trying to go back to sleep because he said but I just want to hit the snooze on that because he was
I'm
this
sorry.
is what he
I feel
said. Listen,
I feel him. I feel it. I feel it.
he said no for real. I do too. He said too many things. He was becoming aware of too many things about himself at one time. And it was like
Mm.
he was in the ring and it was like his ego was like boom boom. And so he was like, yeah, so he just started to stay away from that right now. And I was like, so you're just not gonna learn how to deal with your emotions? He was like, not right now. I had to appreciate his honesty. A lot of us
Yes.
can go through that too. Yeah, like listen, I didn't. Okay, I thought it was they. I thought it was them.
Okay.
You saying it's me? No, I'm gonna stick to it's them, and I'm just not gonna talk to you no more. Like, how many
Exactly.
of us
Yes.
do that? How many of us we can't face ourselves? I know so many people who have cut me off, and I'm like, why they cut me off? And it's like somebody recently said, you make people look at themselves. Oh, all right.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're not ready though, that's a hard. I'm gonna just not talk to you no more if you're not ready for
Mm-hmm.
those hard conversations. And then I don't know how to just be like, hey, how's the weather? Like I don't know how to do
Yeah.
that. I don't know. Like I don't know. So it's like, okay, I can understand that. I get that I'm not gonna be everybody's cup of tea, but if you're coming over here and you sipping over here, listen, we're getting right to it. So
Okay. Listen.
people that takes accountability. We're not taught
Mm-hmm.
self accountability. We're taught, especially in the melanated community, we're taught a lot of times to put authority on a higher figure than us. We're low, and so we don't have any power. But we have so much power. We could take accountability ourselves and not have to wait for somebody to come prosecute us or save us or whatever the case may be. We could do it for ourselves if we were able to manage our emotions. Then
Mm.
have we could manage our emotions. We would have more people fix what I call fixing crowns. So if you see somebody out here, one time I was in Atlanta, and the scene out there it's a really big like pimp scene. Uh, Everybody's a pimp in certain sections. So there's all these guys standing there, and I'm sitting in the car, and the guy I was dating at the time, he's like he went and stood outside, and there's in the middle of the street in the medium, it's a man like beating this woman. And I'm like, hello, y'all don't see this? And it's a group of men standing there like, dude. I'm like, hello, nobody. And
Oh
this
my
man,
goodness.
so guns are legal in Atlanta. And so there was a gun, and I'm like debating, like, do I like what I'm gonna do? Am I about to pick the gun up and just shoot it in the air? Like, what am I
Yeah.
about to do at this point? Like, I'm about to do something with this gun if don't nobody move. But like like once I was like, all right, get it, the police came.
Ooh.
But it was like it hurt my heart to see all of these men, all of these black men watching this black
Yeah.
man beat on this black woman in the middle of the street like this. Like it was just crazy to me. But it's
Mm-hmm.
because we don't have self accountability for self. So we're not
Mm.
about to try to keep nobody else in check.
There you
That
go.
that means we got to be disciplined to have accountability for self to want to keep somebody else in check because we will have too much shame calling somebody else out without having our stuff together. So it's about being able to have that accountability, cultivate the character, to have the discipline, to be accountable, to be able to even have the tools to look at self. If I look at self right now, all the shame gonna come up. Then I'm going, like the guy said, I must hit snooze on that.
Mm.
So I have to cultivate my character to even get in that place.
Ooh. Yes, yes, yes. I we was laughing super hard as we first started talking about it because I felt that so much because once you wake up, you get so many downloads. It'd be like, "Whoa, hold on, wait a minute." Like I remember it was a time where I was debating with myself as well, like I don't want to know all this stuff. I don't want to know the truth. I just want to be ignorant and just live my life and do this. But then again, like I don't want to do that because I like the truth. And it was like you said, we in a boxing ring. I'm fighting my ego. Like, oh no, listen, you gonna learn today. So, oh, I love it so much. I love it so much, and it's just so important that we do obtain just being able to be more self-aware. And I believe that because we are used to being ignorant and used to not just the way that we've been brought up, and then our parents being brought up, and then our ancestors being brought up, just not having that awareness is what is hindering us today and also hindering our children. So whew, I love it. I love it. Now I do have one final question for you, sister. What advice would you give someone who is wanting to obtain emotional intelligence but is having a hard time doing so?
Girl, okay. No, because I've been there. I know where you are. You don't hit the snooze, okay? Don't hit the snooze. Sit in it. Sit in it and feel it. Allow. So I'm gonna give you a tip right here. It takes 90 seconds to go through to get to to get to a breakthrough. So 90 seconds for you to feel in your body the pain that you felt when they did whatever they did, or the pain that you feel realizing when I broke my trauma bond. I realized that, okay, it wasn't all him. Okay, I had did some stuff too. And so for me to
Ooh.
have to look at that and be like, okay, I had choice getting in it in the first place, or I had choice staying in it. I had choice, like, to realize that, okay, I wasn't in my feminine energy. I was popping off in that job. Like
Yes.
I was very aggressive. Like, that man don't want to be around this aggressive woman. Like, that's me, baby. I I gotta look at that. I gotta look that in the eye and say, that's you. Okay. So I had to just sit in that. I
Mm,
had to just sit in that, and I had to get emotional support. So my thing would be find emotional support, find groups, find coaches, find um like-minded people that are
mm,
on the same path as you, whether they are, under you. Maybe you've been in the game for a little bit and they just coming in, or they've been in the game for a while. Have people that you can walk the road with, because when you're
mm.
sitting and you're feeling that, they will allow you to vent. They will allow you to get that emotion out. You can have places where you're releasing. I do release workshops every week, so we can come in and release what we got going on.
Yes, I love
um
it.
so just being able to sit in it, practice sitting in it. So practice sitting in it with something small, like, I don't know. I always think about, when I think about something small, I think about like drive-throughs charging for the dip, the
The little,
sauce.
oh gosh.
So
Yeah.
start small and don't cuss them out. Just sit in that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you feel played in that moment. Like, I just ordered 50 pieces of chicken and you gave me two little things, or whatever the case may be. You sit in that with like something so small like that. and then let it get bigger. Now you're thinking about what happened in your childhood. Okay, you're thinking about, the things that your dad or your mom did, or what happened to school, or what the ex did, or whatever. Now it's getting bigger, and now you can sit in that. And as you start practicing sitting in it, being able to handle it for 90 seconds or more, then you can start noticing when you're triggered in that way. Then you can say, oh, okay, I just feel like that because I was thinking about when such and such did that to me. But I'm in this
Mm.
space now. I'm okay.
Now that you said that, that kind of reminds me of, is that, would you say that would be like shadow work?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
That's the
yes,
shadow
yes.
work. So that I think that's the start of the shadow work. Just being able to sit in everything that's about to hit you. Know that it's about to hit you and be able to sit there. And I don't know if you ever seen Martin Luther King when the man smacked him and he just stood there. Like, woo, couldn't be little Victoria. Couldn't have been little Victoria. Okay? But somebody smacked Martin Luther King Jr. and he stood there. He just sat in it. He just sat in it. Right? So we just got to sit in it. Think about it like that. That's just a visual, and continue every day asking yourself questions. Build up the practice of noticing everything you do.
Yes.
And when I say everything, people, it's so big, but literally notice everything. You know, you put sugar in your tea. Why you use sugar? You want to use stevia? Like just whatever.
Yes.
Whatever it is, like notice everything you do and question yourself why.
Ooh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. That was amazing, Victoria. Thank you. Thank you again for joining me today, Victoria, in discussing this well needed topic, emotional intelligence. I would also like to give a special thank you to my amazing audience in Healing Tribe for joining us today. I pray today's episode was informative and valuable to you all. I definitely got something out of today's episode. Also, be sure to give us your feedback, share and subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes on any of your favorite podcast stations and or on my YouTube channel, Heal with Angelica Waters podcast, to help get the message out to those in need of healing. Also, if you are ready to start your healing journey, join me in my one-on-one intense 12-week coaching program called Heal Yourself Coaching Program, centered around you taking your power back and embracing the healing powers that is already inside of you. At the end of this program, you will have all the tools you need to heal yourself. Link is in the description to sign up, as well as my new release ebook, Heal Yourself. I will also leave information in the description so you all can connect with my amazing guest, Miss Victoria Littlejohn. Victoria, before we end today's show, do you have any closing remarks for today's audience?
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome. This
Yes.
was such a great breath of fresh air. I hope that you guys got some good nuggets. If you are looking for community and doing the inner work every day, meeting, we are cultivating our character and sticking to our accountability. You join me. I have Legacy Leap and build with me. We're 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 literally healing individually together.
Ooh, yes, yes, yes. I love it. I love it. Thank you again for joining me, Victoria. And thank you all again for joining us today. And we now leave you guys as we came. Peace and blessings.